in that book, he goes through all the different kinds of keyframes you can use. And to be honest with you, the word keyframe is kind of misused occasionally, even by me. But in this context, we're going to call it the storytelling drawing. Okay, the most important drawing or drawings that you need to put into your movie. Now, I already know that my movie is 50 frames long. Okay, so I know it's going to last 2 seconds. I know it's on 25 frames per second. And my movie, the script says, in this movie, the hero square turns into a circle. Okay. So I also know that my circle, well, the square turns into the circle approximately 1.5 seconds into the movie, so 3/4 of the way through the movie. So let's say, let's decide it's going to be on frame 36 when that square becomes a circle. Okay. I've now made a blank drawing, and now I'm going to make a circle in it. And I'm going to draw the circle as if it's resting on the ground. Okay, bit of shadow. There you are. So in my movie so far, I've got 2 keyframes. And if I play back the movie, we tell you the wonderful story of a square becoming a circle. Now, obviously, it's very simplistic. It's very basic. But the point is, this square is my first keyframe. And sometimes in future assignments, I'm going to ask you to mark your key drawings or your keyframes with just a number with a circle around them. The circle is the sort of method I use to tell me that it's a keyframe. So this is my first keyframe on frame 0. And on frame number 36, I've got my second keyframe or key drawing, or key, as I abbreviate it to. Okay, these are the drawings that must be in the animation. For these drawings to be absent from the animation, we don't have a story. Okay, the square in this case turns into a circle. These are the storytelling drawings. They are the what, in this instance, a square that turns into a circle. The where, the square starts in the top left of the camera and ends up in the bottom right. And the when, well, on frame 0 it's here, and on frame 36 it's there. Okay, does that make sense? Because this is a really important thing. Your keyframes are the drawings that must be in the animation. They are the storytelling drawings. Okay, now a keyframe is usually when I say a storytelling drawing, it's not like telling the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's telling the story of the motion, okay, or the transformation from one state to another, the change from being a square into a circle. Okay, if you're doing a complex piece of animation involving a character with multiple limbs, like a human walking along, you're going to be doing a lot of keyframes to describe the motion that you need to do. You don't just have 2 keyframes, one at the start and one at the end. You have them all the way through your animation. Okay, so let's say I've read the script for this, and the writer has specified that the square not only turns into a circle, but it needs to bounce into position. Okay, the square falls out of the sky, bounces on the ground and turns into a circle. So I'm just going to choose frame 10, just arbitrarily, and I'm going to put another keyframe in. Just turn on my light box again, and I'm just going to put in a drawing of a square in contact with the ground. There you are. That's actually keyframe 2. So I'm going to draw a 2 there, go to this one, rub out the 2, and make that a 3. Let's just make sure I've got this right. Yeah. So let's watch this again. Well, it doesn't bounce, does it? It just slides across. So I need another. I need another keyframe in here. A storytelling drawing where the square lands on the ground, bounces. So let's just try frame 18. And I don't know. What shape is it? How does it look once it's bounced? Maybe it's going to be a sausage shape. So that's my keyframe 3. And keyframe 3, just for being a little bit anal about it and precise, is renamed to keyframe 4. All right. Okay. Those are the storytelling animation. Storytelling drawings of the animation. So I've gone from just 2 keyframes and I've realized I needed to make more keyframes. Okay. This one is an interesting one in that it could be described as a different kind of keyframe called a breakdown, in that a breakdown is a sort of a descriptive drawing of how an object changes from one form to another. And in this case, we're using a sort of a slightly sausagey lozenge shape. But I'll keep calling this a keyframe because it's the apex of the bounce before it drops down onto the ground. And I'll use the term breakdown in the next drawing I do. So a breakdown is a descriptive drawing, or a drawing, between 2 keyframes on the timeline. So roughly, let's put it on frame 4. That's roughly halfway through this sequence. I could put it on frame 5, but I'm going to do this on 2, so I'm just going to make sure it is in multiples of 2. The breakdown is the drawing that defines the way a transform is made. So at the moment, on frame 0, we've got it up here, and on frame 10, we've got it down there. All right. But how does it get from up here to down there? So if I draw my breakdown here and just do a standard breakdown, almost linear breakdown, in that this square is equidistant between the other square, it just drops, yeah? But I could change that breakdown. I could make it rotate. Okay, or I could change it a bit more. I could actually make it stretch to the ground. So it doesn't just drop, it stretches. And I'm going to use that one, and I'm going to call it a breakdown, a B with an underscore underneath it, just for this labeling exercise. So let's play that back. So it doesn't drop, it stretches, and then it bounces. Okay. So the important thing about the breakdown is it's the drawing that dictates the way an object moves from one state to another. I turn off the light box. So there's my key, there's my second key, and in the middle, roughly in the middle, in the time, is my breakdown. It's important to think about breakdowns that they don't necessarily need to be geographically in the middle. They don't even have to be halfway between this square and that square, and so therefore draw it here. They just need to be roughly halfway between this drawing and that drawing on the timeline. Anyone who that doesn't make sense to. I will be repeating this over and over again throughout the weeks. But that's the breakdown. That drawing changes the nature of the animation. This drawing and that drawing tells you the basic story, the what, the when, the where, and this drawing tells you the how. Okay? How this square got to that state by stretching. Okay, enough of that. So we could do another breakdown here between key 2 and key 3. Let's do one. I'll just turn the back on my onion skin. So how does this square become that blob? So I'm just going to suggest it does. It really stretches into this one. It leaves the ground. Maybe there's a little bit of a shadow. So let's play that back. Maybe I don't like that. Maybe I want to change it to doing this. Makes my life a little bit harder. It's more of a flick. Or maybe I want to, not happy with that kind of breakdown. Maybe I want it to, let's see. Okay, does everyone see that that changes the whole nature of the animation, in that the same thing is happening. This object is traveling from one point to another, but the way it travels changes. So let's just keep that as a breakdown. And I'm going to mark that as a breakdown as well. Okay, I'm just going to very quickly as possible, just in between these key drawings and these breakdowns. So an in-between drawing is simply the drawings in between other drawings. Now, I'm going to repeat this same sentence over and over again. Draw your keys first. Your key drawings and your breakdown drawings must be the drawings that you do first. Do not start in-betweening until you have drawn your keys. Yeah, it sounds a simple rule to follow, but you'd be amazed at how many people in the second year right now didn't get that lesson after about 15 weeks of teaching. Always draw your keys first, unless I'm telling you to do a straight ahead project. Okay, always draw your keyframes first. If I was there in the studio with you, I'd be looking over your shoulder and complaining that you're not doing that. But I'm not, so there you are. So I'm just going to quickly put in some in-betweens here. I've done my keys. I'm happy with the timings, so I can go ahead and do my in-betweens, which are the drawings in between the most important drawings. So how do I get from this square to there? Well, quickly, I suggest. I'm just going to do a bit of an overlap here. So let's see how that works. Okay, it's okay. It's a bit slow here. So if I wanted to retime that, I'd have to delete a load of animation. So maybe that's, if I had more time, maybe I would do that. But the point is, if I do my keys first and get my timings bang on, then there's less of that throwing away work process. Anyway, I'm okay with it being a bit slow there, and I'm okay with how it's going. Okay, so we're going from here to the next keyframe there, and we just got to decide how we get there. So we could put a breakdown in between keyframe 3 and keyframe 4, and let's put it roughly, let's put it on frame 28. That's roughly halfway. Let's turn on our light box. And how is it going to get from this lozenge shape to there? Is it going to do something surprising? No, it's not. It's going to do something expected. It's going to do something like that. Okay, so let's play that back. Okay, I'm in business. So that's a breakdown I'm happy with. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 drawings to do. So let's just do them. These are just in-betweens. I'm not really thinking much about the timing or the weight. And then going from this point here, this drawing here, which is the breakdown, to this keyframe. 1, 2, 3 drawings. Better get there fast then. And we're going to really shoot into this ground. A bit of a squash. Oops, bad drawing. Even more of a squash. Into that key. So let's have a look. It pings up a bit. So what I could do is I could basically duplicate that keyframe by redrawing it. The TV Paint does have a way to duplicate frames. You don't have to redraw things, but I'm just going to do it to try and get into the mode of drawing everything. And I'm just going to. So we've got a keyframe here and a keyframe here. It's exactly the same thing. So basically, the circle's not really going to be doing much, except I know that I want it to actually do a little bit of a counter movement to the squash. And I know I've got a bit more time because I've got 50 frames to say it in. And then I might come down again. I'm just going to move that up to 48 and really try to soften it a little bit with adding a bit more time to the process and one more drawing. Wow, I'm drawing really fast here. Okay, let's hope that works. It kind of works. All right, that's pose to pose. So when you go away today, and we've still got 40 minutes left, so we're actually covering it well. I might have to reiterate some things. Pose to pose is generally the way you'll be expected to work. And it's simply, you work out what you want the action to convey. So in this case, it's a square turning into a circle and it has to bounce. And then you work out your timings. So you make your most important drawings and then you work out their timings on the timeline. And then the next step would be to make your breakdowns, those drawings that create the how of your animation, how this thing changes from one state to another. And then, and only then, when you've got your key drawings nicely drawn, nicely cleaned up, just draw them as accurately as you can. And when you've got your breakdowns in and they're drawn as accurately as you can, and you've got all the timings that you want, whether you're using a soundtrack to sync your animation to, or if you're not using a soundtrack, just what looks right to your eyes. So just keep playing it back, keep scrubbing through and seeing if it works. Then, and only then, should you then go on in between. Okay, I've done this really fast because I've got limited amount of time to show you. But if I were to do this properly, I draw my keyframes, sort my timings out, I draw the keyframes very rough, and then I would clean them up, and then I would do my breakdown.